line interpretation to allow Mr. Pham to interpret for the appellants. So I'll start. Good afternoon and welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals, also known as OTA. My name is Andrew Wong. I'm the lead administrative law judge, or ALJ, who will be conducting the oral hearing for this case. On today's panel, in addition to myself, we have Judges Keith Long and Andrew Kui. Also present is our stenographer, Ms. Marie Sanchez. And then we also have our interpreter, Mr. Donald Pham, who I will swear in once we're on the record. Who is here for the appellant, taxpayer?
Mr. Tai Lei and his wife, Tu-Ha Lee.
Could you pull the microphone a little closer to you?
Okay. Mr. Tai Lee and his wife, Tu-Ha Lee.
Okay. Yeah, if you could like speak really close, maybe if you could pull it closer to you. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Does that work for you? Okay. We just want the volume. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And who's here for the respondent?
Randy Suazo, hearing representative, CDTFA.
Jason Parker, Chief of Headquarters Operations Bureau with CDTFA.
Christopher Brooks, Tax Counsel for CDTFA.
Thank you. And when we go on the record, I'll be asking you to identify yourselves again just for the record. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Judge Kui is substituting in for Judge Daniel Cho. OTA sent notice of this change to the parties on Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, do you have any objection to this substitution?
No.
Thank you. And once we're on the record, I will ask you to confirm that again. CDTFA, do you have, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Okay. CDTFA, do you have any objection to the substitution?
No objection.
Okay, thank you. This hearing is being recorded, and a video recording will be made available on OTA's YouTube channel. Also, Ms. Sanchez, our stenographer, will report this hearing verbatim and prepare an official hearing transcript, which will be available on OTA's website. To help Ms. Sanchez make a clear record, I have 4 requests. The first request is to speak slowly, clearly, and directly into your microphone or communication device. Number 2, if someone else is speaking, please do not interrupt. Number 3, please answer verbally using words. And last, please mute your microphones when you are not speaking. If Ms. Sanchez cannot hear or understand or identify someone who is speaking, she has permission to interrupt the oral hearing to get clarification. I would like to clarify that this oral hearing is before the OTA, which is a separate agency from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, or CDTFA. OTA is not a court, but is an independent appeals body. The office is staffed by tax experts and is independent of the state's tax agencies. I am the lead ALJ for purposes of conducting this oral hearing, but my co-panelists are equal decision makers. Our panel of 3 ALJs will decide all the issues presented to us, and each of us will have an equal vote in making those decisions. All right, let's go over the issues today. The first issue I have is whether adjustments to the amount of disallowed claimed exempt sales of food are warranted. And then the second issue is whether adjustments to the amount of unreported taxable sales are warranted. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, does that sound like an accurate summary of the issues?
Yes.
CDTFA, is that an accurate summary of the issues?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Now let's talk about exhibits. Appellant had originally proposed exhibits 1 through 21, but then supplied about 4 other exhibits today.
Quý vị đã xin đưa một số những cái Yes, sir.
CDTFA, did you have a chance to review the 4 new additional exhibits?
To a certain degree.
Okay. Did you have any, oh, sorry, did you want to, okay. Did you have any objection to these newly submitted exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor, the department does object to them based on timeliness. The ones that we have on this exhibit list are 3, 4, and 5. We would object to those 3 on grounds of timeliness and relevance. We're not objecting to item 6.
Mr. Brooks, could you, 2 things, pull the mic closer to yourself and also allow the interpreter to interpret your comments?
I can rephrase them.
Yes,
real
please.
quick. All right. The department is objecting to items 3, 4, and 5 on this list.
And just to clarify, that's the summary of credit card debt, and then the 2 credit reports, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. The grounds.
Ms. Lee said that in the past 2 weeks she was sick and she was unable to submit the evidences on a timely manner.
Oh, did you want to translate what you just said?
She actually repeated what she had just said earlier, that she was sick and depressed, and she was unable to submit.
Okay.
For the record, Your Honor, our objections were based on relevance and timeliness.
Okay.
Ms. Lee cite relevancy on the account of if they are able to sell or to make some income, then they would be able to handle the tax instead of owing it and pay it late. So these show that they haven't been able to make any substantial income in order to cover for the taxes.
Just to clarify, today we're just focused on whether Mr. and Mrs. Lee owe the tax and how much, not whether they can pay it or not.
Mrs. Lee insists that since they cannot make any business or sell anything, they don't have any money to pay tax. I told her the issue that you hear, just to whether did they owe anything or how much, but they said she keep saying that because we didn't make any money, we don't have the means to pay. She said since they did not sell, they didn't owe any tax on anything that they sold. So that's her logic.
Okay, I'm going to pause for 1 second here. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break real quick. I'm going to confer with my co-panelists about whether to let the additional documents in or not. Okay, give us until 1:30. We'll be back. All right, we're back. The panel conferred, and we are going to not allow 3 of the 4 new exhibits into the record based on they were late filed. And we're referring to the summary of credit card debt and the 2 credit reports. We're going to allow the pictures, we're going to let them in, the pictures, because one, CDTFA did not object to the admissions, and then they're responsive to a request for additional evidence that we had submitted last week. Okay. CDTFA originally proposed exhibits A through D, but OTA requested additional evidence. So CDTFA supplemented their exhibits and now are proposing exhibits A through H. Did Mr. and Mrs. Lee have any objections to CDTFA's proposed exhibits?
They are objecting on the exhibit E, F, and G on the Yelp photos. They claim that some of the photos are already there. It's not. It doesn't belong. They don't own it. It was there first, and they post these photos solely for advertisement. It's not what they are selling, but it's for or advertisement to draw customer in. But in actuality, they did not sell any of that.
Which photos are they referring to?
On the exhibit E, F, and G, the Yelp website review. Exhibit E, F, and G.
So you're referring to the reviews and then the photos?
Yes. Some they claim are not theirs, and some they use it for advertisement, but not for actual food that they sold.
Oh, okay. Some photos are not theirs? Is that what they're saying?
That's from the previous owner of the location.
Oh, and which photos are those?
Quý vị có biết cái tấm nào không? They're not sure which one. Cái này là ngày mấy?
Cái này là May something, May 2,
Năm mấy?
May 5, 2010.
Okay. Mrs. Lee said that the previous owner had the Yelp account since 2010, and she did not take over until 2015. And so there's I don't know how many pictures there on 491 picture since 2010 does not belong to them.
còn 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 những cái picture của em từ ngày 2024 nè.
And when she took over in 2015, the picture starting at 224.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're not going to close the record after today. If Mr. and Mrs. Lee have objections to specific pictures, I'll let them have an opportunity to identify which pictures are not theirs or not inaccurate. Does that work? Okay. 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 CDTFA, did you have a response, or did you want to? Were there any other exhibits that you had?
There's no other exhibits, and the photos that we provided are on the Yelp site for OC Tasty Chicken. So there's also a cutoff date as to the previous owner, which I believe is, wow, I don't know if I, so basically, the pictures are what's on the Yelp's website for OC Tasty Chicken.
Okay. Thanks.
Judge Wong,
Yes, Mr. Parker.
I'd just like to point out in Exhibit E, the reviews for 2015 started on page 100. It's listed as Bates stamp 173.
Okay.
So it's about half the document.
Got it. Thank you.
And also, on Exhibit F, you can check by the date on the Yelp. So you can see where the Yelp reviews are. On the photos, however, it's not going to be that like that.
Understood. Yeah, I think we can. Oh, yeah. I think on the Yelp reviews, we can just focus on the audit period, the reviews that were provided during the liability period. For the photos, I think I'll hold the record open and let appellants identify which photos, if they can't, to the extent they can, which photos depict the restaurant that was not during the liability period or their ownership. Okay. All right, let's move on to witnesses. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, do you have any witnesses?
No.
Okay. And CDTFA, you have no witnesses?
That's correct.
Okay.
All
All right. I budgeted about 120 minutes for this oral hearing. Appellant, you have about 25 minutes plus another 25 to include language interpretation. And then CDTFA has asked for 20 minutes, 40 minutes with including interpretation. And then 15 minutes for preliminary matters, ALJ questions, and then with interpretation, 30 minutes. Any final questions before we go on the record, Mr. and Mrs. Lee?
No question.
CDTFA, any final questions before we go on the record?
No questions.
Judge Long, are you ready to go on the record?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Judge Kui, are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez, are you ready? Okay. All right, we are now going on the record. The first thing I will do is swear in our interpreter. Mr. Interpreter, could you please identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Donald Phan. I'm the Vietnamese interpreter.
And are you certified to interpret from English to Vietnamese and Vietnamese to English?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that to the best of your skill and judgment, you will interpret the questions, answers, and statements in these proceedings before the Office of Tax Appeals from English to Vietnamese and from Vietnamese to English?
Yes, I do.
Oh, could you?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Pham, feel free to interrupt these proceedings to ask for clarification if needed. Okay. All right, we are opening the record in the appeal of Lee before the Office of Tax Appeals. This is OTA case number 2107-8259. Today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. And the time is 1:42 p.m. We are holding this hearing in person in Cerritos, California. I am Lead Administrative Law Judge Andrew Wong. To my left is Judge Keith Long, and to my right is Judge Andrew Kui. We are the panel hearing and deciding this case. Individuals representing the appellant, please identify yourselves.
My name is Ty Lee.
And I'm the wife to Harley.
Could you repeat that, please?
I'm the wife to Harley. I am so sorry. I have been very ill lately due to.
Thank you. And individuals representing the Respondent Tax Agency, California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, or CDTFA, please identify yourselves.
Randy Suazo, hearing representative, CDTFA.
Jason Parker, Chief of Headquarters Operations Bureau with CDTFA.
Christopher Brooks, Tax Counsel for CDTFA.
Thank you. Judge Kui is substituting in for Judge Daniel Cho on this panel. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, do you object to this substitution?
No.
No objection. Thank you. CDTFA, do you object to this substitution?
No objection.
Thank you. We are considering two issues today. The first issue is whether adjustments to the amount of disallowed claimed exempt sales of food are warranted. The second issue is whether adjustments to the amount of unreported taxable sales are warranted. Is that a correct statement of the issue, Mr. and Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
CDTFA, is that a correct statement of the issue?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. All right, let us talk about exhibits. Appellant has identified and submitted proposed exhibits 1 through 21 as evidence.
We, they have submit evidences or exhibits, but they
Oh,
they don't.
I'm not done, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just
Oh, yeah.
ask for clarification and say they just don't know how many.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Lee has submitted proposed exhibits 1 through 21, and today they submitted 4 additional new exhibits, proposing exhibits, I guess total exhibits of 25 exhibits. CDTFA objected to 3 of the new exhibits on grounds of timeliness and relevance. And the panel is not allowing 3 of the 4 newly submitted exhibits as evidence. So we will be admitting appellant's exhibits 1 through 22, with exhibit 22 being the photos of the business at issue. Okay. CDTFA has identified and has submitted proposed exhibits A through H as evidence. Appellants, did you have any objections to those? Oh, I'm sorry. Appellant did have an objection to, let me double check,
To
proposed exhibits E, F, and G. And so we are going to hold the record open to allow appellants to identify which photographs depict the business under when it was not when they were not owners. So we'll just we will be admitting proposed exhibits A through D as well as H, and then we'll hold the record open for appellant's objections on. Sorry, we'll hold the record open as the E, F, and G. Okay. Appellant has no witnesses. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then CDTFA has no witnesses. Right?
That is correct.
Okay. We also clarify as to CDTFA's exhibits E through F. These constitute. Okay, never mind. Strike what I just said. We've covered witnesses, and now we are going to turn to Mr. and Mrs. Lee for your presentation. You have 50 minutes, 50. Please proceed.
Tụi em có 4 mức cao của nhà hàng. Nhưng mà
When I took over the business, we have done some remodeling.
tụi em có đi tìm thêm cái chỗ mà để người ta mua là 4 cái nhà hàng để nó mua thịt gà sống.
They also tried to find 4 new restaurants that they would buy the raw chicken from them.
And after cái 2017 thì cái giá của cái thịt gà nó lên, cái nhà hàng nó không lấy nữa. Giá thịt.
And at 2017, the price for the chicken increased, so the restaurant stopped buying from us.
And ít hơn. Yeah.
Oh, they did not stop buying, but they just buy less.
And tụi em bán thêm mấy cái đồ mà giống như là bán thêm giống mì gói rồi 3 cái đồ cho supply cho nhà hàng đó.
At that time, we selling restaurant supplies as well as instant food like ramen noodle.
Rồi tới lúc đó thì cái fast food đó, cái bán đồ nóng á, thì tụi em có bán lấy đồ thì tự nhiên đó có cái thằng in out nó vô, thì bắt đầu cái business nó going down. Okay.
They also want to sell hot food, but at that time, In and Out was open near them, so nobody buy their hot food anymore.
That from there that we had to give phải bỏ tiền nhiều để trả tiền nhà, xong rồi tụi em chịu không nổi nữa thì đúng 2019 rồi mới sell cái business.
So they try to keep the business afloat, but they're unable to. So on 2019, they sold the business. Có gì muốn nói nữa?
Em nói như vậy, tại vì khi mà em lấy 2015 á, thì tụi em bán ở trong khu chỗ đó là cái những cái chỗ mà apartment nhiều á, thì tụi em cũng có bán gà sống, thịt heo này kia, em bán đủ thứ những cái.
The wife adds that in 2015, when they take the business, they sold a lot of raw meat, chicken and other meat for the apartment complex nearby.
Rồi thành thử khi mà ở tiệm nó đã có bắt đầu người ta cũng có xào mà hot food rồi đó, thì tụi em cũng muốn try để coi có thử là mình có thử đổi chiều.
The previous owner at that location already have some hot food, selling some hot food. So they want to experiment and try that as well to see if that would be the way to go.
Khi mà ở trong đó bán á, thì cái tiệm nó nhỏ lắm. Người ta vô người ta mua gà đó, con cái người ta chạy tùm lum, em bỏ bàn cho người ta ngồi chờ.
Với lại heo department không có muốn mình display cái
đó là sau này. Ok, thì bởi vậy khi mà mình cái mấy cái bàn á cũng là tốt cho những người nào người ta tới, không phải người ta mua hot food đâu, mà để người ta ngồi nữa, con người ta ngồi nói chuyện với mình.
So they said that they had set up some table and chairs in the store, not to sell hot food, but for the customer who come in and buy the meat, that their children can sit there and sit and wait there.
Khi mà mình cắt thịt đó anh, tại mình phải cắt thịt cho người ta, anh hiểu không? Khi mà người ta mua thịt gà thì nguyên con, anh phải cắt thịt cho người ta.
Okay, so when the customer come in and buy the whole chicken, they would cut it up, and so it takes time. So the table is just for them to sit and wait for the order, not for eating.
Sorry, can I interrupt really quick? Mr. and Mrs. Lee, it sounds like you are making factual statements. Would you like to testify? Would you like to be sworn in and testify as to these facts? Or, because if you are sworn in and to testify that these things actually happen, then the gentleman over here, CDTFA, can cross-examine you. But then the panel could weigh your statements to evaluate, to make findings of fact based on your statements. So would they like to be sworn in and testify? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Quý vị có hứa rằng quý vị sẽ nói những sự thật mà thôi, không có gì khác hết. Yes.
Yes, okay. Please proceed.
So the wife said because of the nature of the store, when the customer come in and ask to buy certain pounds, they have to cut up the meat to meet that requirement, that pound. And so while they wait, these are the table and chair for them to sit and wait.
Rồi khi mà lúc đó đó tụi em bán không được á, cuối ngày á bán không được những miếng mít hay là cuối tuần bán không được á, thì tụi em làm gì bây giờ? Thành thử tụi em mới nghĩ ra đó, thôi thì cũng giống như chỗ cũ, mình lấy mấy cái mít của mình mà mình còn leftover á, thì mình nấu rồi mình bán ra hot food, còn cái gì thì mình nấu cái đó, chỉ có leftover thôi.
And so at the end of the day, if they have any leftover, they then would cook to make hot food for the next day to take care of all these leftover meat that they have if they could not sell it.
Đó là vậy á, thành thử có bán được nhiều, có không có bán, không có để mà bán.
So it's not a typical butcher's shop, but it's not a restaurant or hot food restaurant, because depend on whether they can sell the meat or not, or whether they have leftover or not, then they would treat the leftover to make it out to something that they can sell the next day.
Tại vì cái gà của em á, là cái gà này á, nó organ này, nó certified, lúc đó em mua là certified organ này. Nếu mà để qua ngày hôm sau, bởi vì nó mới bán nữa, không còn organic nữa đâu.
The chicken that she sold is certified organic chicken. So if they leave it overnight or left it until the next day, then it's no longer can be deemed as organic. So they have to take care of all the leftover organic chicken on the same day.
Bởi vì lý do vậy mà tụi em mới thành ra có bán thêm chút xíu, dặn thêm chút hot food để recycle cái hot food của em.
And so that's the reason why they also have the hot food restaurant on the side to take care of the leftover.
Tụi em mới quảng cáo là để đánh dèo.
And then that's when they start putting advertisement on Yelp.
Cái dêu này á, tại sao mà nhiều hình như vậy? Con của em á, nó bạn bè và con của em nó có bạn này kia, nó kêu người ta upload lên vô với review cho free. Tụi em trả tiền lúc mà tụi em mới mở ra, tụi em quảng cáo nhiều lắm, tốn rất nhiều tiền, không có worth gì hết. Rồi sao thấy dêu này được á? Thì mấy đứa con em nó có thể giúp đỡ như vậy á, thành thử không có tốn tiền gì á, thành thử mình bỏ cả đống lên, bây giờ mình mới bị ảnh hưởng nữa.
They have paid for advertisement before. It cost a lot and it didn't give a lot of result. So their children and their friends suggest that put it on Yelp. It's less expensive for once, and it's also draw more attention for the people who frequent on the Yelp review. And so they put up a lot of pictures wanting to draw more customer through that. And now they are paying for it. They feel sorry that they have put up a lot when in actuality they did not sell that much. Don't nói gì nữa không?
Sau đó thì cái health department nó không có đồng ý cho tụi em làm
Lúc
food.
nào?
Yeah.
Lúc nào?
Lúc
Năm
mà
nào?
2018,
And
2017 bắt đầu.
at 2017, the health department did not like us to have the table and have kind of like a small restaurant inside the supermarket. So they had to take it out.
That's why cái business của em nó xuống.
And ever since the business just declined because no customer come eating, and the business itself is slow.
That's why tụi em bán cái tiệm health department don't let decorate anything on the front cái store này. Trứng hay là mấy cái đồ tụi em bán á, nó không chọn.
Nó không cho cái gì.
Mấy cái meat rồi đó.
Khi đó cái mà 2017 thì tụi không thể phát mình nói cho mình mix là mình vừa bán đồ nóng mà vừa bán đồ cuốn đồ không có nóng đâu. Thành thử lúc đầu tụi em bỏ ra là ở trên em thấy ở trong mấy cái ấy của em là em có núi bò này, em có gì đó em có bánh phở rồi hủ tiếu rồi có.
So since 2017, the health department comes and they said you cannot have both the raw food and the cooked hot food together. So they have to stop. And so their business is we're getting very slow. Cannot sell anything. And so when the business is slow, her children asked their friends to put up more pictures on the Yelp review. So to draw more customer, but it's not. There's some of the picture people standing outside taking the picture, but they did not go in and buy. Cậu nói không? Đây là bây giờ quý vị nói đó.
Thì như vậy cho nên
nhiều hình của CDTFA chụp đưa vào các nè, hình nó thật là không có người nằm nữa, không chỉ có cái tiệm trống rỗng thôi, không có khách hàng.
She claimed also some of the picture that TFA submitted in is all empty store, no customer, no one frequent. So it's just the picture that they collected from the Yelp, but it shows that it's an empty store, empty restaurant. If we cannot sell, we cannot make money, how can we pay taxes? We have no income. And because we don't sell anything, we don't collect sales tax. So it's difficult for us, or it's not right that we have to pay the taxes.
Thank you. Anything else?
No.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to CDTFA to see if they have any questions for Mr. or Mrs. Lee.
No questions.
Thank you. I will turn it over now to my co-panelists to see if they have any questions for Mr. and Mrs. Lee, starting with Judge Kui.
Hi, this is Judge Kui. So, if I understand correctly, from the time they acquired the mini mart until 2017, there was both the cold food sale area and a restaurant, and then after that, it was shut down. The restaurant was shut down. Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Judge Long for any questions.
When in 2017 did the health department shut down the restaurant portion?
Well, she just want to clarify that the health department did not shut down the hot food there. They just don't want to have all of the raw meat or eggs or different things on display. So they had to put it into a cooler. Anybody want to buy it, they would bring it out. And also due to the new regulation in 2017, so that's why they decided to stop doing the hot food.
So then, to follow up, when did
She said in the beginning of 2017. She doesn't recall when exactly, but in the beginning of 2017.
Okay, thank you. Can you maybe, is there an explanation? I'm looking at CTFA's Exhibits E, and is there an explanation then for the conflicting evidence here, where there's reviews for sandwiches and other food products for the entirety of 2017 and into 2018 as well?
Ông đang review cái kế hoạch. She said the customer who buy raw meat did not give any review, only the review are for those who eat. But then some of the friends of her children also submitting the picture and review, but they did not eat there.
So to clarify, appellant's position is that these reviews from 2017 are not accurate and that hot food was not served then?
Yes, that's their position, that the picture that put it up on Yelp and the review for the friends of their children, they tried to help her to draw more customer. But they said some would eat and give a review, some would just post a picture, but they have no way of knowing which one's which.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Sorry, I had a few questions for Mr. and Mrs. Lee. So the business started. Well, let me back up. The previous owner had both a hot food section and also sold cold foods as well?
Yes, that's correct.
And you continued that when you took over, it looks like in early 2015, is that right?
Quý vị tiếp tục khi mà mua sang cái tiệm năm 2015, cũng tiếp tục là có đồ sống và có. Yes.
And the name of the business at that time was OC Poultry and Rotisserie Market?
Cái tên đó là cái tên cũ phải không? Yes, that's the former owner's name for business.
Okay. And then the rotisserie was referring to like cooked chicken and the hot foods that he sold?
That's correct.
Okay. And then I believe you changed the name of the business in early 2017 to OC Tasty Chicken and Banh Mi. That's spelled B-A-N-H-M-I.
Là đổi tên 2017 mới đổi tên là OC Tasty Chicken and Banh Mi.
Dạ, tại vì cái tên kỳ dài của người ta đọc không có được.
Yes, that's the name they changed in 2017. It is because the old one, the old name is too long, and the health department also doesn't want them to sell raw meat or of products. So they take the name for the hot food.
Okay, and then a banh mi is like a Vietnamese sandwich, is that right?
Yes.
Were the fillings heated, or were they cold, or it could depend?
Both. Some would serve cold, some they would heat it in a microwave.
Was the bread toasted at all?
Mì đâu.
tại vì bánh mì á, mình
Tụi em mua.
bán ở bánh mì
Tụi em mua bánh mì
rồi
của
tùy
cái
theo khách hàng người ta thích.
It's up to the customer if they want it toasted or not, because they bought the bread. They didn't make it. They bought the bread and then they put in the filling and the meat. So depend on if the customer want to heat or toast the bread or not.
And then you also sold, I guess, curry and udon noodles, is that right?
So it's up to the sale of the day before. If they have any leftover meat, then they would make whatever dish for the leftover meat for the next day.
Okay. By your estimation, how much hot food did you sell as a percentage of all your sales versus raw meat or eggs?
It's not consistent. It's go month by month. Some are 30%, some are 35, 40% of the total sales. They're not sure because it's not consistent.
Mỗi ngày đều khác cái này nào.
Every day is different from day to day, not just from week to week or month to month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to CDTFA for their presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, after their presentation, you'll have an opportunity to rebut and make a closing presentation. Okay, CDTFA, you have 20 minutes plus another 20 for interpretation, so 40 minutes total. You may proceed.
Appellant was a sole proprietorship and operated a fast food restaurant with a small mini market in Anaheim, California.
Mr. Suazo, could you pull the mic closer to you? Thank you.
The seller's permit commenced in December 2015 and ceased August 2019 as the business was sold. The audit period is from fourth quarter 2016 through the closeout period in third quarter 2019. The majority of sales are for hot rotisserie chicken, hot soups, hot sandwiches, and combination meals. Exhibit D, page 44. The restaurant did have seating facilities for customers.
Could you repeat the last statement?
The restaurant did have seating facilities for customers. To consume food on the premises. Exhibit D, page 54. Appellant meets the 80-80 rule.
Could you repeat that?
Appellant meets the 80-80 rule.
Meet?
Yes.
Quý vị có gặp một cái người 88 tuổi.
As more than 80% of gross receipts.
Could you repeat that whole things again? The 88 something.
Appellant meets the 80-80 rule. As more than 80% of gross receipts are from sales of food products, and more than 80% of the retail sales of food products are taxable.
Họ nói là 80% tất cả những gì quý vị bán á.
By virtue of consumers eating at the facilities provided by the appellant and/or sales of hot food products. Reported total sales amounted to around 512,000. And included a claim deduction for sales of exempt foods of just over 300,000. Exhibit E, page 32. Gross sales and taxable sales were consistent throughout the audit period. Records reviewed were federal income tax returns for 2016, 2017, and 2018. Bank statements for 2017. And 1099-K reports for 2016 through 2018. No GL, no general ledger, point of sale or POS system reports, cash register tapes, sales receipts or purchase invoices were provided. Comparison of federal income tax returns for 2016 through 2018 to sales and use tax returns showed minor differences. Exhibit D, page 53. Comparison of federal income tax returns, recorded sales, to recorded cost of goods sold, showed inconsistent yearly markups for the audit period. With an overall markup of only 137%. Yeah. Exhibit D, page 50. The department reviewed 3 similar businesses in the area and computed an overall average markup on those businesses of 188%. Exhibit D, page 42. For the appellant, only 2018's recorded markup of around 184% was considered to be acceptable. The 2017 bank deposits were scheduled and disclosed only 10% of deposit amounts were cash. Exhibit D, page 52. The appellant has stated that not all cash is deposited into the bank account. As they use cash to purchase inventory. Exhibit D, page 30. Due to lack of records, alternative methods were used to determine taxable sales for the appellant's business. Again, appellant did not provide detailed daily records or or POS downloads to verify reported exempt food deduction taken on the sales and use tax returns as they stated, all cash register tapes were thrown away. Exhibit D. Exhibit D, page 30. As stated earlier, the business was determined to be applicable to the 80/80 rule for restaurant sales. To account for non-taxable sales of exempt food, from the small grocery section of the business, the department determined 10% of total sales were exempt grocery store food sales. The percentage was based on the type of item sold, by the business and the amount of floor space, dedicated to such merchandise. Exhibit A, pages 9 and 10, and Exhibit D, pages 29 and 44. Disallowed exempt food sales claimed amounted to over $210,000. Exhibit D, pages 43 through 45. To compute taxable sales, a markup approach was used. Exhibit D, page 42. Recorded cost of goods sold per the federal income tax returns was adjusted for self-consumption and pilferage. Self-consumption and pilferage. Pilferage. the cost of goods sold was lowered an additional 10%. To account for exempt food sales. The 2018 accepted markup of 184% was applied to the cost of goods sold for 2016 and 2017. To determine taxable sales for those periods. Audited taxable sales were compared to reported taxable sales. Plus the disallowed food sales discussed earlier. And differences were noted for the fourth quarter of 2016 and all 4 quarters of 2017. Exhibit D, page 39. Unreported taxable sales based on the markup method calculated to just under $20,000. Exhibit D, page 38. The disallowed food exemption combined with the unreported taxable sales totaled over $230,000. Exhibit D, page 37. Appellant has stated that they did sell large volumes of uncooked meat for resale. However, no sales invoices, cash register receipts, or other verifiable documentation has been provided to verify an amount. Appellant has not provided records to support any adjustment to the established liability. Concerning Exhibit G, a quick look of the Yelp website done during their presentation showed that from page 290, row 6, picture number 4, which has a rooster on it, to page 292, row 5, middle picture, was from when the business started in December of 2015 to before the audit period. Sure. Exhibit G, page 290, row 6, picture number 4. To page 292, row 5. Well, the middle picture actually starts, row 5, the middle picture is actually the beginning of the audit period. It is October 6, 2016 is when it's dated. So from there down is within the audit period. Also, page 295 And unfortunately, I didn't get the exact picture number because I was in a hurry doing this, but there's some tables and chairs that you see, or yeah, but there's, I think it's the bottom one. That is uploaded on July 5th, 2018, which is well after the 2017 time period discussed. Then on page 297, pictures with tables and chairs in them are dated December 29, 2018, January 12, 2019, February 7th, 2019. And on page 298, pictures of tables and chairs again, the dated August 5th, 2019.
Judge Wong, I'd just like to add one thing to the presentation.
Go ahead, Mr. Parker. Oh. Mr. Pham, do you need to translate that? Or?
So the taxpayer claimed that in early 2017, the health department made them remove their tables and their sales went down. If you look at Exhibit A, page 32, which is the reported sales for the taxpayer. Exhibit D, my apologies. The reported gross sales continued to increase from 2017 through second quarter 19. Also, the taxable transactions continued to increase from 11,000 up to almost 22,000 during the same time period.
That concludes the department's presentation.
Thank you, CDTFA. I will now turn to my co-panelists for questions for CDTFA, starting with Judge Kui.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Judge Long, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. I was considering asking CDTFA to maybe submit a revised exhibit. Let's see. Exhibit G, because Exhibit G contains a lot of photos from Yelp. I was wondering if CDTFA would be willing to just submit photos submitted during the liability period to make it easier for both parties. We would hold the record open 30 days to allow CDTFA to submit photos only relevant to the liability period, and then we would give appellants 30 days to object.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Just 1 second. Oh, I did have a question for CDTFA. Were the photos that you submitted in Exhibit G the photos that the auditor reviewed? Or do we know what photos the auditor reviewed?
I couldn't get a download of what the auditor had reviewed. So basically, this is everything that was on Yelp. I just gave you everything. So this would incorporate everything that was on Yelp, which is where they're basically.
Got it. Okay. I think submitting a revised Exhibit G will narrow down the photos and help us focus on what's relevant. Okay. We will now turn back to appellant for your rebuttal and closing remarks. So, Mr. and Mrs. Lee, now is your chance to provide a closing presentation or address anything that CDTFA stated.
Mrs. Lee said that in 2006 and 2007, because they just start the business, so they don't know how to manage, and so they keep buying things, so the expense is more than the income.
Rồi bắt đầu 2010, cuối 2018 á, là em biết là chọn đồ mua, thành thử á, em mới có lời. Em phải em cũng lúc đó mình cũng có bán mo hot food thì mình cũng có khai mo hot food rồi.
Với lại
Dạ.
mình muốn bán cái business mình. Tại vì lúc đó
Cái
mình
đó là mình chưa có tính tới.
So the record that you have on the tax return in 2018 is actually when they know how to run the business and file or actually made some money.
Dạ. Thì em đã khai thuế cao hơn 2018. Đó, thì là như vậy. Nhưng mà 2018 đó mấy ổng nói là tụi em làm nhiều lắm. Cái này là cái tiệm nhỏ của local food store, nó không có bán như những cái restaurant khác được đó.
They said it's unfair to compare them with three other local restaurants because they are not a full restaurant. They are the kind of like a supermarket and then have a few tables for the customer. It's not a full restaurant.
Có markup hay không có ai mua markup như vậy là em markup lên vậy cao quá người ta cũng mua rồi đó.
So on the 2018, is that where they? I guess the business is good, so that's what they file on the tax, but it's not fair to compare with other businesses around, as well as the tax return on 2016 or 2017. Có nói gì thêm nữa không?
Dạ, rồi cái tax return của em á, em cũng không có viết được nhiều á, những cái phút mà bị lỗ lã nữa.
And I guess they filed their own tax, so they don't know how to write all of the.
Không phải, tại vì á, nếu mà em cho lỗ lã nhiều quá đó, thì em không có mua bảo hiểm được, phải đi medical. Ông xã em á, có health issue, em có health issue, không có medical, nó không bác sĩ công nhận, mình phải khai lên chút xíu để mình được mua bảo hiểm qua cover California.
They said on the 2018 they have to write a higher markup because if they keep losing money, they are not qualified for insurance, health insurance. He has some health issues, so they have to show that they qualify or somehow so they can still be qualified for cover California insurance.
And cái máy tính tiền của em mà nó có memory, không có gì hết. Rồi lúc đó tụi em bán xong á, thì cái chủ á, nó kêu tụi em phải mua lẻ lên để nó vô nó reconstruction, nó sửa chữa. Xong rồi tụi em
Cái đó là năm nào?
năm 2019 á, là tụi em bán tụi em á, thì tụi em mới dẹp hết.
He also claimed that he has an old cashier machine that doesn't have a lot of memories, and he said something about 2019. The new owner that he saw the business want him to get out quickly so they can start their own business.
Mình là mistakenly Dũng đi, mình có một cái journal nhưng
She
mà
admit
chấp nhận.
She admit that they throw away the receipt, but when she tried to submit the journal, you wouldn't accept it.
Anything else, Mr. and Mrs. Lee?
Có thêm gì nữa không? Muốn nói gì nữa thêm nữa không? She claimed that they make so little sales, so it's no point for them to have or to keep the record of the POS. That's what she.
Em nói như vậy nè, em nói là hồi đó mình có cái máy cũ, anh hiểu không? Nhưng mà khi nào mình nghĩ là business mình nhiều hơn á, thì mình sẽ upgrade to POS. Nhưng mà cái business nó tệ quá, anh nghĩ mình vẫn keep cái máy cũ.
Okay, so they claim that they have the old machine, and they are waiting for the business is getting better so they can upgrade to the machine with the POS. But the business did not pick up, so they continue to use the old machine. Claim at the end of the day, he would tell her how much they sold that day and the taxes there, so she can input it into her Excel sheet on her computer. That was her journal, the journal keeping record.
Những cái tape đó đó, em ban đầu nó, nhưng mà khi mà lúc mà mình mua out so quickly á, mình mistakenly á, là đâm nó để mình mà biết làm sao mà lấy lại.
So she bundled all the receipt, but then when they move out for the new business come in, they have mistakenly lost them or thrown them away. She blamed herself for being stupid, that when the people who want to buy her business, they want to buy the business. Somebody else want to buy her machine, she sold them. The old machine that she used, instead of keeping it so you can show to you as an exhibit.
Anything else?
And she said that's why she cannot provide any of the receipt, because the machine's gone. She said it's in her journal, but they don't accept her methods of record keeping.
Anything else? That was a no. Okay.
Yeah. No.
All right. I will now, for the final time, turn to my co-panelists for any final questions for either party, starting with Judge Kui.
I don't have any final questions. Thank you.
Judge Long, did you have any final questions?
No final questions. Thank you.
Hang on just a second. Okay, I just want to go over Appellant's Exhibit 22 really quick. This is the pictures that Mr. and Mrs. Lee submitted. So the first page, that's not during your ownership, is that correct? Okay. And the second page is not your ownership either, is that right?
No, that's theirs.
Okay, the second page is there.
Yes.
Okay. And then the rest of the pictures, the rest of the pages are during your ownership, is that
Và
right?
những cái đằng sau là của. Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. And then you had mentioned earlier that 2018 was a good year or not a good year for your business?
Yes, that was their good year.
Okay. And then you had mentioned something about the markup with respect to qualifying for health insurance for your husband. Could you clarify that point really quick? I did not quite catch that.
She said if she write the markup, too much markup, then her total income would be less, and they would not be able to continue with the Cover California insurance, and they have to go on Medi-Cal.
Cái này không phải là markup mà là lỗ.
Lỗ là làm sao?
Lỗ là khi mà em bán không được á, những phút mà em phải bỏ đi á.
She said it's not about the markup, but the amount of food that she had to throw away because she cannot sell it.
Cái đó lỗ thật của em á.
So those loss, if she write too much to be able to offset her income, then they would be on Medi-Cal, not on Cover California.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had. Okay, so just to recap, we're keeping the record open. We are giving CDTFA 30 days to resubmit a revised Exhibit G to provide photos of appellant's business during their ownership. And then we will give Mr. and Mrs. Lee 30 days to respond to that submission. I'll be issuing an order with those deadlines later this week. After that a period, the record will close, and then the judges will meet and decide the case based on the evidence presented and the testimony taken today. After the record closes, we will send both parties our written decision no later than 100 days from the close of the record. Now we're going to conclude this oral hearing. Thank both parties for appearing today. The next hearing will start in 15 minutes, and we're going off the record. So we'll be back in 3:10. Thank you.